Today we're making Dumbledore's first wand, as seen in the movie The Crimes of Grindelwald. I'll show you step by step how I made this wand for under $5. If you're starting from scratch with no supplies, you could probably make this same wand for around $10 to $15. Interested? Here we go. I've tried as best as I can to come up with the scale of the wand. It looks long, but actually it's only 15.5 inches. So I've come up with using a 3/8 inch rod, 25 pound 18 gauge galvanized wire, and I'm just twisting it up. I'm starting out with 2 feet. I bend it over, and then I take a pair of pliers. These pliers are mounted. Put them in here like this. And then I take another pair of pliers, put it down here, and you're looking at a future build right down there, and then just twist it up until I get this kind of pattern on the wire. So I came up with 3 2-foot wires bent over. So this is just allowing me to work the project. Then I have another dowel over here with some zip fasteners where I'm twisting this back and forth and trying to get right where it is. So you can see where this zip fastener is right here. So that's going to represent how far I put it into the hole. And then I'm going to taper this down. I'm going to use Sculpey clay, and actually twisting it like this serves several purposes. First of all, the gauge of the wire is good enough, and that twist, along with using some of this paddle wire that I've used my other wands, will allow the Sculpey clay to adhere to it. So what I've been doing now is I'm just playing with this and trying to get these things to line up like they do in the picture before I put clay on there. And now I'm just kind of twisting them to try to get them as close as I can to this graphic. After much bending and twisting and rolling, I think I've got this frame pretty much where I want it for the Sculpey clay. I know where I'm going to do on this part, and I have an idea of what I'm going to do on here. I can't put these zip ties in the oven, they'll melt. I'm taking some of the paddle wire and I'm wrapping it around and then popping these off. That'll be the final step before I start adding the clay. And tied that up so I can take this off. I'll show you how I do it. It's pretty simple. I just go it through and then tighten it up real good. And I'll wrap that all around to be the base that's going to interface with the rest of the handle. This is an exercise of perfection is the arch enemy of good enough. The frame is important because that's what all the clay is going to be on. But given I only have limited views of this, I want it to stand up straight, and I think I've got that figured out. And I just want the curl to be about as close as I can to this model. And I think I've got that too. So now it's time for the clay. I'm toying with the idea of whether or not I put the dowel before I bake the clay. Haven't decided yet. Obviously by the end of the video you'll see what my answer is. Just bunch in there, and just the wire's really good. Notionally get it on there, and then I'll just get it where I want it. And I think I'm going to do the dowel because I have to transition it from here into the dowel and smooth it out. Progress is slow. Running it around with little snakes, as I call them, is key to getting the wire and the clay to match up, at least for the initial run. Then I'll thicken it up as I go. Patience, patience, it'll work out. Sometimes you have to step back to move forward. It just wasn't working out. So I paused for a second and I put some of that green painted paddle wire on here to help the clay stick. Again, this is a very interesting build because I'm going from a couple pictures online, but I'm optimistic it's gonna work. Another advantage of the wire is because it's on there, I'm just making snakes like this and then pushing them on along the line of the main wire vise, try to loop it around, which was driving me crazy. So this will help out immensely in setting it all up. Pause and show you what the towards the end is. It's a little more exciting. All right, progress being made. The twisted paddle wire is really the big deal. That stuff really works great. It worked great on my other wands, and it's really working here. You just have to get that base layer on and then work on getting more and more added up to make it look like the picture right there. That will take some time. This part here is just a 1 1/4 inch, 1/4 inch washer. And this is just one of these 3/8 inch zinc plated washers. This piece here is one of these coupling nuts. And I filed it down just enough to put that on there to get this measurement right here. Now on the back, I'm going to take a 1/2 inch washer, 1/2 inch, 1 inch washer, and I'm going to glue that in place after I get this out of the oven because I'm going to fill this with clay. And then on this other end, for this part, I've got this end cap, shark bite tube, 1/2 inch end cap that I got for $1, and that's going to be this piece here, and then that's going to mount on here like this, with this coming down through here, and then this will tighten up. It's all going to work. I have to get this bolt into here next before I do much more clay work here. I'm pretty happy with how that's turning out, and then I'll just bake it up. But before that, I have to file down this end, probably trim this back a little bit. Just like that. Right there. It's coming along. This piece here, all it is a 1/4 inch, 20 1/2 inch. I actually cut it down a little further than that. And then I filed down the screw part to make it flush, so the end looks a little more finished. Now to put some clay in here. Even though the clay probably would be fine with just holding onto that, I'm going to actually use some of this wire. I flattened out the wire end and put it in one of the bigger slots up here, and then I'm just going to wrap it around. You can see about how much of the green wire I put around here. That should give it a pretty solid base for the clay. I've rolled a much thicker snake around there, and then I'm just going to push it into the wire. Get this kind of effect by just smoothing it out. By just running my finger around it, I'm able to get pretty much the shape I need. Pretty happy with how this is working. A little bit more. There's the down view. All right, in hindsight, I should have put this 1/4 inch, 3 inch long bolt in there before I started doing the clay, because I kind of messed things up and I'm going to have to go redo that now. Lessons learned. And then this is going to come on here like this. Once I bake it up, it's going to be pretty firm. I think I've gotten pretty close on this one. It's a little longer than the piece, but I'll compensate with the dowel. Not bad. Pretty happy. We'll do little touch-ups here and there. And once it's spray painted black, you know, some of the imperfections will kind of go away. From 6 inches from here to taper, this is going to be practically nothing, and this is going to be pretty close to the way it is there. So there'll be a gradual taper from here to here. And then once I get that done, I'll cut it off and drill the hole to insert this part into the wand. You can file this down. I'll use a belt sander, very similar to what I did for my Newt Scamander wand. So I'm not going to show that part over. I'll post down below in the Newt Scamander build where you could see me actually sanding something very similar and tapering it down. I've taken it just a black Sharpie and given myself a black center so that I have something to go by. So this will be my mark on this end, and then the black center will be my mark on that end to make sure I'm not straying too much. All right, the taper is done. I took a light sanding sponge and smoothed out all the coarseness. Pretty happy with that, and it looks pretty good. And right at 6 inches is where I'm going to drill the hole to put this part of the wand in. See, that's pretty thin taper, so I'm gonna have to figure this out. Probably with a small drill, and then just keep going. And I'm gonna actually cut it off here so I have something square to put into the vise. I'm starting out with a 1/16 inch hole, and then I'm just gonna slowly expand it and make it bigger and bigger until it fits the wire. Boring out a dowel can be pretty tough. I'm fine with this because I'll be able to fill it in with the clay. It's just a little bit annoying trying to get a straight cut through a very thin space. Since it seemed to want to be in half anyway because of the 2 holes, I'm just doing it like this, and then I'll just slide the metal piece in there. Okay, here's my compromise. I'm feeling good about this. I'll be able to put some clay in there and transition it, and that's pretty solid. I think we're close to 80-90% solution. So now it's time to put it in an oven for 275 for 15 minutes. This is dry, and it's a little tighter than it was when I first took it out of the oven. Because there's a whole bunch of nooks and crannies, and I'm going to hit it with some Krylon gloss black. We'll see how that does. And then on these other 2 pieces for this part of the wand, I'm going to trim this down just a bit so that it's more in scale with the handle, and we'll receive the 1/4 inch bolt. Put a hole right here in the center. Drilled the 1/4 inch hole through the top cap. Trimmed that down. It worked pretty well. Ironically enough, there's this faint line around here, and so I'm going to be able to use this casting line kind of represent that. There was a little bit of writing on the top, but I'm not too concerned about that because that's going to flush mount here with the rest of the wand. All right, the paint is dried. Boy, that looks a lot like this thing. And then here is the end. I spray painted the silver pieces with this Rust-Oleum Bright Coat metallic finish. I've used this for my Han Solo gun and for other metal-like pieces. You get that nice shine. So I'm going to take the tape off that protected the metal part. Got that nut here. Take that off. That washer will probably go too. Down that's just a screw. So I'm going to put this in place. I'm going to use Rapid Fuse. You could use JB Weld, whatever seems to work for you. And then it's just a matter of putting the pieces together. So while that's drying, I'm going to put the nut on this end. So this slides on here, and now we put the nut on. That's just a pressure fit. Goes in here like this. This is in place. Now I'm just going to twist this on. You can see where the screw is. I was having problems just wrapping electrical tape back and forth, so I went with duct tape. You could go with gaffer's tape if you wanted to. That's about the same thickness. So now I'm going to finish it off with a couple wraps of electrical tape to get it flush here. So that's what I'm trying to achieve. Some of the pictures show a very faint inscription here. I could certainly put that in later. It's got the shine that I'm looking for. It's straight. I'm really happy how this turned out. Thumbs up and comments always appreciated. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more builds coming soon on all sorts of different things.